This is the new lens I want to talk to you about today. Hello everyone again. This is just my medium-sized review of one of the lenses I was using the most in the last month. It took a while to review this lens because it continued to exit something new about this new Kuangren lens from China, I think. I know the guy. I know the guy making this lens. Is one guy that makes these lenses as a hobby. This is the first thing I'm telling you today because it's very interesting. He's a very talented guy that wants to do something different for photography, and I really like this approach to photography, to macro photography, to wildlife photography in general. We are submerged by portrait lenses in the last years, and I cannot go further in that path. It's too much, guys. So in this case, I want to talk to you about a very different lens today. And this is the Kuangren micro lens high lens. That is this one, this tiny one. Actually, it's a combo lens actually. And this is why I put all the pieces together here in this table that attaches to an extension tube that comes with the lens. And this is basically a macro lens. So this one is a macro lens. It's an ultra macro lens actually. On full frame you can reach easily 3 times magnification ratio, 4 times maybe even, and on VX and of course and on micro four thirds you can reach even more magnification, of course, because it's the cropped sensor, no? So this is the starting point actually. This is the lens that permits you to achieve a magnification like the Laowa 25mm ultra macro does, stuff like this. It's a different kind of approach, this one. Follow me. This is a tiny, like a microscope-like lens with aperture ring, so you can open or close the aperture from f4 to f16. But the main aim of this project was to have a wide-angle macro lens, and this is where these two other pieces come in my story. The first one is the K42. This is this piece again, and I will show you. It comes and it attaches it to the front side of the micro high lens, and this is actually the full combo lens. And this lens permits you to do very interesting photography of tiny subjects like tiny frogs, tiny insects, not very small like springtails, but we can work around 1 centimeters long, even less a little bit, to up to 4, 5, 7, 10 centimeters long. And I like the K42 lens because it gives you, being a wide angle, essentially a wide angle lens, gives you wide perspective with a not so blurred black background. So it's very different if I compare the shot taken with this one with the shot taken with the classic. This is the 50mm lens from Nikon, for example, the Z50mm that I love for macro, for general macro. But this lens opened me a full range of other subjects I could photograph. Of course, I was already using the 24 probe to be from Laowa, for example. This is another lens that permits you this kind of perspective. But the K42 permitted me to have even in focus background, or perceivably in focus background compared to the Laowa 24mm probe lens, for example, or to a classic fisheye wide-angle macro lens like the Laowa 15mm. Also, this system, as you can see, is kind of thinner. The diameter of this lens is less in the front compared to the classic 15 millimeters macro from Laowa, for example. So it's easier to move the flashes around and of course to reach to make the subject reach the light of the flashes. So another point to this lens, of course. If you were wondering what is this element attached to the front, this is the actual K42, I can show you, and this is the wide angle lens. And this is another element. This is the helicoidal tube that permits you to focus. So in this case, in the normal CCTV ultra wide angle setups, you normally have to unscrew or screw the front element to have it in focus, no? In this case, you have a helicoidal tube. It's all built by Kuangren, and it perfectly fits and permits you to focus to the subject once you have your framing situation. And the tube behind this one permits you, depending on the format you're using, full frame, DX format, or even micro four thirds, it permits you to avoid any vignetting around the lens. So you can extend the tube and avoid the vignetting when you go into macro mode. So this is a full system actually. The angle of view of this K42 is not very wide. You don't have to expect with this system the same wide view with everything in focus as you can see in some CCTV based photograph you can see in the net, even shot by me with my do-it-yourself systems. But it's very, very good quality for such type of extreme photography. So I like that thing. And also another thing is that if I unscrew the front element, I have an ultra macro lens. So it's basically more than two lenses altogether. So this is also very interesting. But it took me a lot of time to review this lens, because while I was using this one, the K42, like in my last trip to Costa Rica, and while I'm talking to you now, I'm showing you some of the images I took with this K42 system. Another lens came out from the same brand, from the Kuangren, and that lens, that element of the lens, was created thanks to my advices as well, to my ideas that I gave to the Kuangren guy to achieve some kind of photography I wanted to achieve. And here it comes, the K150. This is 150 angles of view, of course. So it's a different lens, but also similar in what it wants to achieve. It's basically a macro lens, macro wide angle lens for tiny subject in the background. And while I love the K42 for photographing portraits with a 3D perceived ratio, a 3D aspect on smaller frogs, froglets, small spiders, stuff like this, this is the one I go for true wide angle macro, so the subject in its environment. This is what I wanted to see and view from this brand. So basically it comes like another piece. You have to unscrew this one with the smaller helicoidal tube and to put this on, so you can of course have his own helicoidal tube that is a little bit thicker because it needs this for perfect focusing. And now I have a 150 degrees angle of view with this lens, and as you can see on the photos I'm putting while I talk, it permits you to have a wider angle of view while keeping both the subject in focus, of course, but also a very visible background. And this is something I like very much in many occasions where I want to give you importance to the subject compared to its ecosystem where it lives. let's say a mushroom or insects or a frog, whatever. Someone could say, okay, but we already have the Laowa Probe 2B, of course. But the Laowa Pro 2B, the only thing that I like more on the Laowa 24 probe lens is that it can go into the water. It's waterproof up to a point. So this is, of course, the unique lens characteristic of that probe lens. In this case, I love this one because it's lightweight. It's easily moved around the subject to have the perfect framing, the perfect composition of the image. This is something I was really looking for about this lens. And also another thing that I like very much is that it can changes the focus depending on the magnification you want, but it doesn't lose so much depth of field. If you see these two photos, one is taken with the K150. It's two little mushrooms in the leaf litter in Italian woodland. And then this other image I can show you aside is taken with the Pro 2B Laowa 24mm T8. So basically you think you are taking the same image with the same kind of lens, but it's very different. Actually, the Laowa Pro 2B, even at full frame, it hasn't the same depth of field, and it hasn't the same perspective. So you get less of the background around compared to this one. About quality, you are wondering about that quality. The quality is perfect. I mean, it's not like photographing. You have always to remember that it's not like photographing with a classic macro. It's not as sharp, but neither the Laowa 24mm is, of course. There's a sort of compromise between magnification, wide angle, depth of field, of course, and quality. But the quality of this lens is usable, perfectly usable. I printed some images, no problems. The detail in the eye, if you nail the focus, are perfect. So I'm not really concerned about the quality of this lens when used properly. And as used properly, I mean you have not to increase too much the aperture. I almost never, I think, go over f8. That's plenty of depth of field for the background. Don't worry. And normally I also use sometimes for slightly bigger subject, I use f5.6, for example. No problem at all. So it's something that I really like very much about this lens is that the quality remains very high. Of course, if you compare it to prime macro lenses, it's another thing, but it's another segment of photography. It's another world of photography. You have to compare this kind of lens with the CCTV systems, do it yourself with many pieces all together. And in this case, the quality is top notch. You cannot compare the quality of these crappy systems that I also used for achieve this kind of magnification and wide perspective. And this lens, this is another level. So I wanted to talk to you about this one today because I really like this system, this modular system of this new brand. Actually, the guy from Kuangren is doing this as a hobby, as a passion. It doesn't have, he has another job, is very good in doing these things. He used to make, and he always makes flashlights for macro, for example, and I think that was his main marketing thing in the photography sector. Last but not least, of course, the thing I didn't like so much about the system, one of these is the adapters. This system is all metal, so the lens comes, this one and the K42, it's metal, it's perfect, no problem. But you also can attach the front elements like the K150 or the K42 with these helicoid tubes, these pieces. You can attach them in the front of the 25mm Ultra Macro from Laowa to achieve the same thing. So you can avoid to purchase this one and just take the front element. And I tried that. I didn't like it very much in terms of quality, depth of field. It's not the same. I don't know why, but in my trials, I couldn't achieve the very same quality I can achieve, and wide of point of view, of course, I can achieve with the Kuangren wall system. This is just a hint for you. Another thing I didn't like of that way of working is that the adapter to attach the front elements to the 25mm is 3D printed in plastic. And some of the people I know that use that system many times complained about the plastic being worn, and then it turns out not working properly since a few times you turn it on and off the lens, the 25mm. So I prefer to stick to this system, even if I have and love the 25mm from Laowa. So I also own that and use that lens. But in this case, I normally carry with me this system. And this is another thing I like, because now I can, if I want to stay lightweight for maybe a short walk in the woods, to enjoy nature, to enjoy this kind of the situation, not very into working or field work or expeditions like this where I need more lenses. In this case, I can only carry this one, the even just the K150, and my classic macro lens like the 50 or this 100 or 105, the one you like, and you're pretty covered for the main macro subject you can encounter during your walk. So I hope you understand everything because of my bad English, but I wanted to stay in the English speaking because I wanted to reach the most people I could with this review, because I think it's one of the few around. So I wanted to let you all know that this system exists, and for the wildlife macro photographer is a very new addition, very new and nice addition to the lens market. So thank you everyone for watching. Please comment below, click some subscribe if you like the video, and please ask me any doubt, any curiosity about this lens and about my techniques using with the lens. All the best.